Hi, this is Anita. Welcome back to Retired Rewired, where we're proving at any age you can learn a new language. In the first couple of lessons, we talked about how to order coffee, greet people, how to order food in a Mexican restaurant. So today, we're going to talk about something that's very important because when you land in a Spanish speaking country, you're going to want to do two things. One, get out of the airport. The second one that you're going to want to do is to get from the hotel to a restaurant to the bank to get your money changed, however, but you're going to want to get to certain places. So we're going to talk about, you guessed it, directions. Okay, so in the description below, I have added lesson 3, which talks about directions. And you know how we do it? There's a few useful words right at the top that I go through. And address is, interestingly enough, the way to say address in Spanish is la dirección. So, you know how we do it? It's just not me talking to you, it's you talking to you. So you can get the feel for the language because what's very key is getting used to saying the words. So when the time comes, you can actually talk to the person that you are trying to get directions from, trying to get information to, and you're not feeling weird about talking because you've already said this. So, la dirección, that's the address. Okay? The next word is calle, la calle, that's the street, la calle. You're going to see that in a lot of the directions that you get for your Airbnb or for your hotel. You're going to see la dirección, you're going to see la calle, which is going to be the street name, and they're going to give the number to you. Okay, to the right, all right, is derecha, derecha, derecha. To the left is izquierda, izquierda. And really it's a la izquierda, izquierda, or a la derecha, to the right or to the left. And derecho is straight, derecho, derecho. Okay, so get those directions down. And my expectation that you practice this when we're not having this session. So the other thing that you're going to want to be able to do when you leave the airport or try and get out of the airport, especially when in Mexico City, where is the? ¿Dónde está él? Whether it be puerta, which is door, and I have asked that question. ¿Dónde está el puerta? Actually, it's la puerta. That's right. It's la puerta. It's the door is feminine. Masculine and feminine, we'll start talking about that. Anyway, yes. ¿Dónde está la if it's a feminine thing, or ¿dónde está él if it's a masculine thing? Because you're going to want to ask questions like ¿dónde está el restaurante, which is the restaurant, el restaurante, el restaurante. So there's a la for la puerta, and there's a el, like banco, for example, bank. You're going to want to know where the bank is because you got to get money out for the ATM. Okay, all right. So, ¿dónde está is where is. So I'll just stop there. ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde is where. Está is the, yeah. We'll leave it there for right now. Okay. The other thing that you might want to know is there or are there? And there's one simple word for that is I. 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 It's spelled Hay. You will be tempted to say A, but you don't actually see it in writing. This is something that you're just going to know because we're going to talk about that. Is I. ¿Hay un banco cerca de aquí? Is there a bank close to here? So are there, one word, I, just works. You're going to be asked a question, and they always ask it, ¿de dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? Sometimes I don't hear the de dónde, I just hear the eres because they speak so fast. And so I know to say de los Estados Unidos. I am from. Or you can say it in full sentences if you want. You don't have to. You could just say Los Estados Unidos. Los Estados Unidos. Los Estados Unidos. You could actually say it in fragments. You don't have to say soy de los. I am from. If you don't want to, it's okay to talk in fragments. they know what you mean, but they're going to ask you that question. So be prepared to say, I am from the United States, or from just if you want to say the United States, you could say that. That works. Okay. So the other thing to do to sometimes, if you want to get somebody's attention, you can say perdón, perdón, which is like pardon me, perdón, perdón. Or you can say disculpe, disculpe, disculpe. Sometimes it just depends. I use both. Come on, they will know what you mean. But sometimes you want to get the attention of the police, la policía in the airport, so you can find out dónde está la puerta. Where's the door? Because you want to leave. You want to get your Uber. ¿Dónde está el estación, the station para Uber? Uber. You could just Uber. Quisiera tomar Uber. And they will know you want to take an Uber. So that's very easy. You will see written across the board signs that'll say entrada, entrada, entrada. And that's your entrance of when you're coming into a particular area of an airport. Or you'll say salida, and you probably have already seen it and you may not have paid attention. Salida, salida. That's the exit. And I already mentioned puerta, which is the gate. It's la puerta. And sometimes you'll have to ask where it is. Baño is easy. And it's not bano, it's baño. It's got an N. This tilde over the N is a different letter than the letter N. And it's sounds like canyon, yon. So it's baño. So, ¿dónde está el baño? And you will see the signs on the bathroom. Depending on where you are, what country, I've seen two ways to say woman. Mujeres, 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 or damas, damas, damas. And I'm not sure if that's a country grammatical. I'm not sure, but I've seen both signs. So if you see both, start recognizing it. You'll know. And for the men's bathroom is hombres. I know you've heard that before. Hombres, hombres, or caballeros, caballeros, caballeros. That's also men's bathrooms. Okay. And you can always tell people because, you could just say you soy turista because they're going to want to know, why are you here? ¿Por qué? That's why. And you could say soy turista if you're a woman. If you're a man, you're a turisto. You're not a turista. You're a turisto. I'm a turista. So, and sometimes when I'm talking to or trying to get the attention of somebody at the bank or because I have gone inside to get change, cambio, because in the ATM machines, they give you large bills. Nobody wants large bills. Sadly, that's a true statement in Mexico. They always give you large bills. I'll go right into the bank and ask for cambio so I can get a smaller bills. If you go to a casa de cambio, which are very common too in some places, casa de cambio, where you can actually exchange your dollars for pesos, you will get smaller denominations in those places. Okay. The other thing that I say sometimes is tengo una pregunta. I have a question. Tengo una pregunta. Tengo una pregunta. And they will say, dime, and tell me. And or sometimes yeah, most of the time they do say dime. And I just tell them, I ask them the question, where am I going? Or I ask them if I couldn't find anything. Because let me tell you, when the first time I got to the airport in Mexico City, I could not find an exit. There was no exit sign. Well, let me put it this way. There were multiple exit signs, but which one do I go out to get to Uber? So you may need to ask questions. Do not be afraid to engage. That is one reason why I would like to have you guys print down the document that I've attached and talk about it because one of the things that I have learned through my travels to South America is you definitely have to learn to talk to people, and they are so gracious, so kind, and will stand there and wait for you to get the sentence out because there will be times that they will ask you questions and you will not understand what they're saying. And you can ask, puede repetir? You can ask him to repeat it. Is that right? Yeah, repetir. Or you can say, habla más despacio. Habla más despacio. Can you speak slower? And they will likely know. The deer in the headlight lights look don't work, by the way. I have had the deer in the headlight look, and they just look to me like, okay, when you gonna pull out your translator or something, figure out what you need to say to me. Has happened. Okay, so we talked about disculpe, tengo una pregunta. Excuse me, I have a question. Disculpe, tengo una pregunta. That will help you. So let's say you get into the Uber and you greet the person because we get home training. Hola, buenos dias, buenas tardes. I don't know what time of the day, but those will come in handy. There's going to be a code. I think it's everybody. There's going to be a code to tell the driver and you that you connected correctly. They started doing that recently. So you can show him the code if you're not comfortable with numbers, or you can, it's four digits. So you can show that person, and it's usually a guy. I think I've only had one Uber driver in Colombia. Excuse me. And you can show them, or you can call it off as practice with the numbers and give them the four numbers. They'll put it in and the ride will start. Okay. And he will want to know cuál es la dirección. What is the direction? ¿Cuál es la dirección? Direction for your hotel or airport. ¿Cuál es la dirección? And you can show him. I would show him more than tell him, because the address, excuse me, what you may think is not important on that address line may be what he needs. The addresses do not look the same as the addresses in the United States. Go ahead and show him on your phone. Or if you decide you want to write it down in your notepad or however you want to do it, write the entire thing down if you decide to rewrite it as opposed to taking a picture of it. But do give it to the Uber driver so they can see it for themselves and they can put it into their direction. Actually, if you do Uber, no, that's not true. If you do it in Uber, they will actually have it. Never mind, never mind. Strike all that. They will ask you to confirm the direction, though. I have had that to happen. They'll come back and ask you to confirm the direction, even though in Uber you give the direction you copy and paste it from your Airbnb or from your hotel. You copy and paste it into Uber, so you don't miss anything. I've done that. So truly copy and paste it. Okay. Okay. So now you're at the hotel. Scenario two. ¿Dónde está el restaurante más cercano? Cercano. ¿Dónde está el restaurante más cercano? Where is the nearest restaurant? ¿Dónde está el restaurante más cercano? And you may ask that question because they may not have a restaurant attached to the hotel. They might, but in some cases they don't. So you can ask that question because you're going to be walking a little bit. That's why I gave you the a la derecha, a la izquierda, to the right, to the left, or derecho, straight. And la calle, because they will tell you la calle, whatever, to get to the restaurant that you want to go to. The other question that you may ask too, just in case you didn't get any money exchanged at the airport, you can ask them, ¿Dónde está el cajero automático más cerca? It's the ATM is cajero automático más cercano. ¿Dónde está el cajero automático más cercano? Where's the closest ATM? They also have casa de cambios. So you can say, ¿Dónde está el la casa? Because casa is female. ¿Dónde está la casa de cambio? ¿Dónde está la casa de cambio? And they'll let you know. Okay. The other one, useful phrase, ¿Dónde está el baño? We talked about that. And you might want to go shopping to the mall. The mall is not called the mall. If you say mall, they will likely know what you're talking about, but it's called Centro Comercial. Centro Comercial. ¿Dónde está el centro comercial? It is a tongue twister for me all the time. But that's where the mall is. That's what they call the malls here in Latin America. The other one is the grocery store. ¿Dónde está la tienda de comestibles? or el mercado. They may call it mercado or la tienda, which is the store de comestibles. And I don't know if that translates one for one, but if you ask somebody, they will be able to tell you the nearest one, cercano, más cercano de aquí, the nearest one to here, de aquí, because you're going to be in a hotel, and they'll give you directions. They might have a map, mapa, or they just might point and tell you. But last time, actually, I was in Arequipa. The guy did have a map, but he was drawing on the map how to get from where I was to a specific place. Museums is where I went mostly, and restaurantes that were close by. Más cercano. It was very, very walkable. You're going to want to walk all the time, unless you go pretty far out. But generally, a lot of things in South America, Latin America have been very close to where I've been staying. Okay, that was a lot. That was a lot. The other phrase that's kind of key, está lejos, está lejos, está lejos. Is it far? I've had to ask that question a couple of times because there were times when things weren't um, in the circular part of the town I was staying in, and I would ask, ¿Está lejos? Especially for Centro Comercial. And then I'll know I have to take an Uber and I just can't walk, which is okay. The other key phrase that you can have in your back pocket, and I've had to ask this a couple of times. You'll have to ask this a couple of times. ¿Cuánto tiempo le tarde en llega al aeropuerto? And you can write this down. There's no shame in your game because sometimes the people will know, and that means how long does it take to get to the airport? And I've had to ask that question twice, and I had to pull out my translator because I wasn't used to asking that question, and it'll let me know how early I need to schedule an Uber to pick me up. ¿Cuánto tiempo se tarde en llegar al aeropuerto? Airport is aeropuerto, and I have a heck of a time saying it, but they know what I mean. So if you hear a native speaker say it, they will say it so much nicer. ¿Cuánto tiempo se tarda en llegar al aeropuerto? As you can see, it does not matter that I've said it a few times here and there. I still get tongue twisted. And like I said, I have this lesson 3 in the description. So please feel free to print it off or pull it up on your screen and just repeat these things because they will come in handy. You will absolutely positively need these things. This is the very reason why I started this channel is because I wanted to get you used to talking out loud, saying these words out loud, and it doesn't matter what you sound like because like I said, I sound like a gay woman toddler but they understand what I'm saying. I get to the airport, I get my questions answered, and sometimes I have to look up what I'm asking for. But these are, in my mind, everyday travel things. And like I said in the first video, there are multiple ways to keep up with or learn how to speak Spanish on a daily basis by using Duolingo. And I know, like I said, it gets a bad rap. But what it shows you is how to make 2 to 3 word sentences, how to say things in Spanish, not useful at all, but it gives you um, it helps you hear it and I would repeat it. Absolutely, positively, always repeat it out loud. So you can get your mouth used to saying what you need to say because you're going to need that. What I'm doing in this series is talking about the things that I know that you're going to have to go through when you go to a Spanish speaking country. This is what I'm going through right now. I am in Cusco, Peru. Once you get to Peru, I'm in an Airbnb. I'm not in a hotel. But once you get to places, the further south you go in South America, and you're not at a hotel, you will need to start speaking to people in the next video because shopping is a thing that we like to do, ladies. And they have some very inexpensive buys. We'll talk about the words you're going to need when you enter a store, la tienda de ropas, Ropas are clothes, and we want to buy some clothes, or maybe even souvenirs. But in the next video, in the next lesson, we'll talk about what you need, the vocabulary that you're going to need in order to purchase clothes. See you in the next video.